have a great interview. I am so excited, and I can see her on the backstage, and you can't yet. But you will see, not only does she have an incredible presence, an amazing smile, but she is an incredible person and soul. She is compelling, inspired, and I can never say that word, innovation, really into the innovation. And it is Tiffany Persons who is here with us on the backstage and about to come on stage on live for you for a Q&A Friday special VIP interview. So Tiffany is the founder and executive director of a super highly respected nonprofit organization, Shine On Sierra Leone, since 2006. And it's been Tiffany's passion and commitment to really empower communities of Sierra Leone and to be stronger than ever, right? And it's been an incredible passion, and we're going to dive deep into that during this call. And she has overseen Shine On's comprehensive Ebola response and integrative educational program and numerous projects. She's launched maternal and child healthcare programs in partnerships with Wellbody Alliance, and she's provided, training and treatments for more than 30,000 women and children, and training for over 12,000 individuals in computer literacy, teaming up with Waves of Water to provide 100 million gallons of clean water for 30,000 people in the next 10 years, partnering up with actress and activist Rosario Dawson and the Girls Club of New York, the Girls Club of Sierra Leone, to provide mentorship in female health and entrepreneurial skills to young women to shine on, and all of Shine On's communities. She's also offered over 8,500 microfinance loans and constructing programs and the current Ebola response. Recognized for her leadership as the founder of Shine On, Tiffany is a popular speaker of a variety of conferences, festivals, academic institutions as well. And one of the things I think it's incredible. She has an amazing background. I mean, she's spoken at the University of Pennsylvania, Chicago, Ideas Week. She's talked at the Stay Classy Awards, Huffington Post panels, and she's also been featured on major domestic and international publications such as Elle, Vanity Fair, Emirates Women. I mean, we recognize these names. And among many others. She's been featured on CNN, on her own entire episode, on her entire work. And I know you do some work with the UN as well and things like that, but we'll dive deeper. All of this plus the beautiful, huge heart. I mean, I have not met her in person, but we have close friends. Peter, our founder, has, and Diana too. And my feedback is, Tiffany, you have the biggest heart ever. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored, so grateful to have you here on Hack Mankind. Enough of me talking. How are you doing, Tiffany? And welcome to the show.
I am amazing. I'm amazing. Well, thank you for that beautiful and spirited introduction. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Jessica. So it's amazing to be here. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about your story. I mean, how did all of this happen?
It's interesting because I look at it as this has truly been my destiny. But it feels like everything in my life was leading up to me going to Sierra Leone. So it all started when in 2005, I went to Sierra Leone to film a documentary that followed the path of a diamond from the earth all the way to the consumer. But I'd like to take a moment and start a little bit before. When I was 11 years old, I decided I was going to be a nurse, right? I decided I'd be a nurse because I wanted to help people. And I distinctly remember seeing this vision of me standing by a hospital bed and holding the hand of someone and just beaming them with love, right? And that feeling, it inspired me. I knew that that's what I was here to do. So here's the problem. I was a C student at best, like C meant celebration. Okay. So when I got to college, I was charged with the responsibility of having to get an A or a B in organic chemistry and microbiology if I was going to be accepted into this pretty great nursing school. And I didn't make it. I didn't get those grades. And so I was heartbroken because I felt that that was my destiny and I didn't know what I was going to do. And so what happened is my father said, listen, I don't care if you get a degree in cooking, but you're going to get a degree. So I had to open up this book. I'm looking through the course book. What am I going to do with my life? Who am I going to be? And the book falls open on film. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be a movie star. This is perfect. I knew this is exactly what I'll do. So I take a theater class and I take a film class. And the theater class, immediately I knew I was never going to be a movie star, never going to do anything like that. But something amazing happened. There was a documentary class that I took, and it completely opened my mind. And all of a sudden, I was having that feeling that I had when I thought I wanted to be a nurse. Because the films that I was watching, whether it was Nanook of the North, the films that were opening the worlds and allowing us to see into the worlds of people whose stories never would have been told, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to tell people's stories. And so I decided I would major in film and become a documentary filmmaker. And that gave me that sense of purpose that it connected me right back to that feeling. So here we are, fast forward to 2005, and I'm going to Sierra Leone to make my first documentary. I am so excited. This is back when there were paper flight tickets. So when they came in the mail, it was a very big deal. And so I put the ticket in a certain place, and every morning before, 2 weeks before, I would just get up and look at the ticket to make sure it was there, because if you lost the ticket, you weren't getting on the plane, right? So I was just so excited because I was going to Africa. I was going to Sierra Leone. I've never been to Africa, the continent. When I landed, my hair stood on end. The smells, the colors, the sounds, but it was the faces. There was my Uncle Charles. There was my Aunt Easter. I saw all of my family members in the faces of the people in front of me. And it's almost like, I wonder, like, do they know? Do they know? And so as I get off the plane, I get off the plane and I am there, and it felt like I was in a Technicolor film. Every single step was like being in love and like coming home. And so I find myself in an area called Kona, which is a diamond mining area. And we're there to film the documentary. The documentary is focused on following the path of a diamond from the earth all the way to the consumer and documenting different lives that it impacts along the way. I live in it amongst the diamond mining community for 3 months, and I've fallen in love completely. There was a school in the middle of the village, and this school had been burned down during their civil war. Yet and still, 100 children were gathering each day, getting dressed in their makeshift uniforms, marching to their makeshift school that didn't have a roof, has no benches, but they are fully attentive, focused on the teacher. There are 5 volunteer teachers who are sharing a box of chalk nubs, and they may not have had much, but the determination could be felt for miles. And it struck me. And I had raised $5,000 outside of my film budget, which I was going to use to, I don't know what I was going to do. But my director at the time said, why don't you invest this into something that will last? Why don't you invest this $5,000 into putting a new roof on the school? And so that's what I did. So I went to the United Nations building that they had set up there, and we borrowed a truck. I borrowed a truck, and in that truck, I drove to 6 different villages to get wood and all of the supplies I can get my hands on. And we came back in to the village with my team, and the entire village spilled into the streets, singing and dancing, saying they always say they're going to come back, but they never do. And so with that, we put a new roof on the school, made all new benches for the students. And that was the beginning of Shine on Sierra Leone. And in that moment, I decided to commit my life to making sure that every child within this village had access to an education. And that's how it all started. So about 2 years into it, I hit a wall. First, it was great. I came back home, I was energized, I was raising money, and we built additional classrooms because obviously 100 students in 3 classrooms is too much. And so we're building classrooms and things are going well. And then I hit this wall of depression. I couldn't figure out what it was. People would say, what you're doing in Sierra Leone is so amazing, but I would feel like a fake inside. And I've always been a very spiritual person and been very connected to what I'm feeling. And I realized something was off. And so I got quiet and I asked, what is this that I'm feeling? Please share with me what's off. And so I started at the same time to read more and study and meditate. I implemented a meditation practice twice a day. And I got real serious about it. And one of the things that I tried on was the idea of shifting my mindset and only focusing on what I wanted and what felt good and putting no attention on what didn't feel good and what I didn't want. And I mean, I did this Jedi mind trick style. So what that meant for me is I had to let go of certain relationships and friendships that were rooted in complaining about a certain thing. I had to completely forgive my child's father, who I was no longer with, but I was not happy with the type of father that he was, and I made sure that he knew that, but I had to fully forgive him and fully embrace him in her life. And it looked, after doing this, truly doing this, in about 6 months, my life felt very different. Within a year, my life was completely unrecognizable. I before couldn't pay my rent, overdraft account. And after, things just started to change. They started to open up. Basically, the doors were open to life because I was actually putting attention on what I wanted. And when that happened for me, I realized that this was what was wrong with Sierra Leone and I. I was going around preaching their sad story, not believing that they themselves were co-creators in their universe. I was agreeing with them that their government was bad. I was agreeing that they were victims. I was actually fueling the fire and therefore perpetuating the very problem that I was there to help them solve. And so once I realized that, I decided that we should change our name from a charity to a partnership. And I asked them if they indeed wanted to be our partners. And that looked like what? Well, that looked like the first thing we did together was we built a building with an earth bag building where we brought the materials and the idea for this work, that this earth bag building, and they were able to contribute all of the labor and the sand. And it was such an incredible process that they asked if we could call the building the Unity Building because it brought together all of the tribes in the community in an unprecedented way. But I also knew that there was something even deeper. And what I had forgotten is that when we first started Shine on Sierra Leone, when we first opened the school, I had created a list of affirmations with the students. All of my needs are met. I have friends all around the world. My teacher loves me. I'm an excellent student. I'm a sponge for knowledge. And they fell in love with saying these affirmations each and every day. They would say them in the morning and they'd say them in the afternoon. But they had the magic ingredient. They had desire. They had passion. They would sing them. They would dance them. They loved saying these affirmations or being these affirmations. And when the school first started, we were ranked number 736 out of 736 schools. And so the good news is that we can only go up from there. And about 5 years in, when I was going through this whole realization and reorganizing of what I was thinking about the work that we were doing, I found out that our school was then ranked number 5 out of 736 schools. And it then continued to rise to where it is now, number 2 out of 736 schools in the Eastern region. And when that happened, I realized I got a tap on the shoulder, and it was, this is your proof of concept. What we invest in our inner landscape will be reflected in our outer landscape. And I realized at that moment that I wanted to create curriculum and academics and education that was focusing on inner development, so that they could know the power of who they are, as just by being human beings, you get to co-create your universe. You get to co-create your life. You have more power than you can ever imagine that lives here and here. And so that is the ethos of what Shine On Sierra Leone is. Yeah, I'm gonna pause here for a moment. I have several other stories, but I want to pause for a moment and just give an opportunity for whatever wants to come.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so beautiful, Tiffany. And I do have some questions in my mind, and I want to remind those who are watching us live, please enter in the comments, and those will be relayed over into us to the backstage area, and we would love to read your comments, ideas. I'm also here on Facebook. I'm actually right here tuning in and seeing your comments, your little hearts pop up. So please, any questions, comments, thoughts, we would love to hear from you. So one of the things that you mentioned that for me popped up, and I've never heard somebody say that, is you said when you arrived to do your documentary, yes. And I love how excited you were. I am so like that as well. I'm like, travel, even today, and discovering new things. And it sounds like it's such a passion project that you had, and it. One of the things you said was, and I'm paraphrasing, is I got there and I saw the faces of my family, uncle, aunt, in these people, and I didn't know if they knew. What did you mean by that?
All right, that's interesting. I actually saved that for the end. So after doing this work, so working in in Sierra Leone has been, it is an incredible challenge, working in another country. And for some reason, I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame, right? I stayed in it. And about 10 years into doing the work, it's now been 15 years, or it will be 15 years next year. 10 years into doing the work, after having started all these programs and continuing to go and somehow it all staying afloat, I decided to have my DNA test done. And I found out that my entire maternal lineage is from a little lady in Sierra Leone. And I am actually the tribes that I work with. I am indeed the tribes that I work with. So I had been called home. And literally, this is one of my destinies. And so when I said, do they know? It was more so, do they feel how I feel? There is such a connection and a disconnection between African Americans and Africans on the continent. And we have such a deep longing for each other. It's like being separated at birth, right? And so I was falling in love. I was just simply falling in love. And I just wanted them to see me like, do you know, like I'm one of you, but I didn't even know that I was one of them until 10 years later. But I had decided that I was. Yeah.
Incredible. Wow. That was goosebumps and teary eyes. Oh goodness, how beautiful. And you were just called. So would you say that we just know? We just know where we should go?
It's such a beautiful question. I don't think we know in the process, but I think we know. The greater sense of us knows, the greater part of us. We are just this 1% in this human body, but there's a greater part of us that I believe is always guiding us. And like I said, wild horses couldn't keep me from doing this. I didn't go into it too much, but when I started Shine On Sierra Leone, I was a single mother. And single mother, could barely make ends meet. Bank account was always overdrawn. the 26th of every month, the anxiety would start to set in for paying rent. And I had no business at all starting an organization, right? Just none, only no business. And so because of that, but for some reason, I was held through this process. For some reason, I I couldn't stop myself from going in this direction. And so I believe there's something powerful to following your bliss and following what feels good and literally just doing what feels good. There is something powerful to that. There is an innate sense that is always pulling us along our path, whether we realize it or not. Yeah.
Would you, you know, one of the things I've noticed, and I don't know how to word this, is I have spoken to people who have done work in Africa or in other places of, you know, where there needs to be schools built, where children don't have access to clean water. And when I hear them talk, or even some documentaries, there is this energy of, oh, poor them, we're coming there to save. You did not bring that energy at all during this conversation. Can you tell me more about that?
I
It's
certainly
so
can.
refreshing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, I think, well, first of all, I know when I first got to Sierra Leone, I did have that energy. I call it more of the Westerner's mindset, that energy of, no, 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 all we need is some money and a great plan, and we can save this and save you. I had that energy. That energy was transformed over time along with this process of me understanding who I was and understanding what was off. So when I told you I hit a wall of depression, that was why. Because I was operating in that same sense of, we need to help them, we need to save them, they are victims. And that didn't align with my greater understanding, and it didn't align with my soul at all. And so when I realized who I was as a human being, and thereby who they are as human beings, everything shifted. And I literally would do exercises where I would see them. If I saw a woman walking down the street with something on her head, right? And let's say she had something on her head, she had a baby on her back and carrying something in her head. Previously, I might have been like, oh gosh, it's a tough day for her. Like, wow, she's got a lot on her plate. But after I decided to look at her and say, look at that powerful woman. She is incredible. Look at how resourceful she is. And I would just play these, it's not a game, but I would do these internal exercises in shifting my perspective on every single thing that I saw. Whether it was a hut that only had 2 rooms and a mat on it, shifting my perspective to seeing the beauty in it, what it took to get to that place. Because I believe that there's a huge disparity between what we believe people should be living and what they're living. What they want for themselves are the basic needs to make them happy. What we want is actually also the basic needs to make us happy. But we have these huge, oh, well, they need houses, they need development. Oh, one of my favorite, I'll say this, developing countries, right? What are they developing into? I hope they are not developing into us, right? So there is something so beautiful and simplistic and powerful and close to nature, the way that they are living. And there's so many people here that are trying to get back to living like that. So really just seeing the incredible dynamic way in which they live and how healthy that really is. And then just the few tweaks that they need, helping them get to that place. But what I'd like to do is investing in someone's inner landscape allows their vibration to raise so that they can be at the vibrational level where they can start to answer their own questions. That's what I would love to see. Us investing more in the inner lives of people instead of helping them get things and just get things, because what's going on in here is what's producing. We are literally living in a sea of symptoms. We are living in a sea of symptoms. So everything that we're experiencing that are ailments, and whether it's racism, all of everything, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, these are all symptoms, but everything starts from in here. And so I'm really all about focusing on getting to the root level of the misalignment and putting that into alignment, raising that vibration, and everything around us starts to change.
Wow, and it sounds like you did it yourself. So it's something you're talking about with experience, right? Where you came in, you had a different mindset, you had a different perspective, and then you fell into that quote unquote depression that you went to. And then you had that self-discovery, and then you noticed the shift that it did in it. Because if you talk about that shift and how important it is, Peter was telling me the story a bit about when during Ebola, where you were in the epicenter of it all, and your village did not have one case of it.
Mm.
So can we talk about the journey and how it got there?
So when Ebola hit, the one thing that was interesting is the hazmat suits, the people going around in the hazmat suits, you know, the full PP, what's it called, PPE, protection gear, with bullhorns in their ambulances, going into villages, yelling through and basically barking orders is what it sounded like. And what that did is it really shut down people's ability to process what they were supposed to do, not do, because there was so much fear with what they were seeing, and there's so much fear. And so we had developed such a strong sense of trust over the 13 or 12 years that we had worked together prior to that. They immediately called and said, Tiffany, what are we to believe and what do we do? So we created a process of going door to door and having conversations with each and every family about Ebola, how it's transmitted, what to do, what to look out for. We also gave out washing stations for every single home, helped during lockdown with foods, and it was a beautiful process. If there were quarantine homes further out, we also supported them, but in regards to our very specific village, it was all about communication and connection. And so because we had this incredible level of trust, which other communities may not have had that, and they actually had this opportunity to come together as a community and work together in unison. So we had that. And at the end of it, we literally were in the hotbed. And at the end of Ebola, we had 0 cases. And I truly attribute it to our ability to connect with them on a heart-to-heart level, so that they could truly take action in a way that was viable and vital. Yeah. Yeah, I want to share another story after that.
Please. No,
so
please.
One of the most extraordinary stories of the time of Ebola was just after it, when we were going back to school. So school was out for 9 months. And during that time, so this is the interesting thing about Ebola, and it's amazing that now everyone who's listening to this can relate to it 100%. So during Ebola, all public gathering spaces were closed, and it was illegal. It was actually illegal to touch another human being, because Ebola was transmitted through your skin and touch and your glands and your sweat glands, everything. So it was illegal to touch another human being. So there were no markets, there were no gathering spaces. Now, how you and I work every day to make our rent or work for our annual bottom line, each day, the breadwinner of the family, the mother or the father, goes out to gather food or somehow get food for their child or family that day. So they are a day-to-day society. They're, most of them don't have refrigerators and things like that. So when everything was closed down, there was a sense of they were going out into the bush, trying to find different things to eat. We came together and helped a great amount, but it was a tough time. Food insecurity was one of the number one byproducts of Ebola. And so here we are, school's starting again, but school is open. However, the public spaces have not opened yet. So even though the children are at school, they're listless. They're really not fully fed. They're hungry. And so we were getting reports back that, the kids are there, but they're laying their head down. So I went into actually meditation and I thought about it. And all I could see is Sierra Leone is one of the most lush, it's tropical in nature. It's one of the most incredibly beautiful places that you ever want to see. And I just thought, how could all of that green, lush environment not have nutrients? So I think about all the green juices that I drink and the soups that I drink the soups that I drink. And if there was any way that we could just have leaves or somehow create a nutrient-dense broth, and then the idea of bone broth came to mind. And I thought, well, there is a butcher in town. I'm sure that there's bones every day that are being thrown away. So I sent an email out to them and I said, take a look at this recipe for bone broth and tell me what you think. We know that bone broth has incredible properties of healing and benefits for the body. So they looked at it and they're like, Tiffany, we are not boiling bones. Are you crazy? They're like, girl, like they are, because they're very ritualistic culture and you're not going to boil bones. They're like, you must be out of your mind. And so they came back a couple of weeks later and they're like, okay, going back to that trust. They're like, okay, we'll try this. We're going to try to boil bones. And they're like, okay, why don't we add moringa? Because we have been growing moringa together. Moringa is a superfood. And if you don't know about moringa, take a moment and just look up moringa, Moringa. And they decide, let's add moringa. And then someone else says, oh, let's add pepper and tomato. Oh, and then somebody else says, oh, let's add onion. And so we're on this big call and everybody's throwing out ideas. And someone says, okay, I'll do firewood. I'll go get firewood from everyone. So we go out and we get 4 huge pots and everyone from the community is bringing all of these items. The butcher happily donates his bones at the end of the day. And so we boil this soup for 2 days, 48 hours, getting all of the good stuff out of it. And then I add all the good ingredients. And at the end of those 2 days, the soup feeds 250 students, 13 teachers, and 400 community members. It was literally a wine and loaves story for us. And we did that every 2 days for the rest of the school year. And now it's a part of our program and we actually do the soup every day. So we just boil the bones for that 1 day opposed to every 2 days. But here's the amazing part of the story. When I got there and I showed up a month later, after they have been heating the soup for a month, everyone comes up to me running and screaming, telling me about these health miracles that they had had. Chest pains had gone away. Back pains had gone away. A child who had sickle cell anemia had not been in pain for the first time in his life. All of these amazing, amazing things were happening. Women were having regular menstrual cycles before they had very painful ones. And it was probably one of the most incredible experiences of my life because it brought into focus that everything we need truly is right around us. And this costs, it's pennies, literally, for us to create this and to do this. And so this is a part of our program right now. But just looking at kind of raising to our vibration to get to the level of the answers and knowing that our answers are really within reach more than we can even know. Yeah.
Wow, what a story.
Mm-hmm.
What a story. And you let them, you let them come back to you and say, okay, let's give it
Mm-hmm.
a try.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It all happened. So it had to happen. with trust. So you say we have to raise our level of vibration, right? In order
Mhm.
for all that, to get the ideas, to get
Mm.
to
Mhm.
be connected. How do we do that?
Okay, so we all have our own idea that we subscribe to as the process of creation, right? So I'm going to share what mine is. So I believe that everything in this universe is vibrating. This is a vibrational universe, which means that this table, this computer, everything is vibrating, but it's all vibrating at a different speed. Okay. That means our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, all vibrations. So contrast happens, something bad happens. We get in an argument with our husband, right? And we're feeling unappreciated and sad, and we don't like the way they talk to us. Automatically in that moment, a rocket of desire of what you really want in a partner is shot to the universe. Automatically. The universe receives that and it packages up that amazing partnership, that partnership that is a true union, is it respects you, all of these beautiful things, and it sends it your way. Now, here's where it gets good. Why don't we receive it, right? It always sends it your way 100% of the time, right? The universe responds always. Now, it responds, but the vibration of that response and that vibration of that person, that experience of that person is here. It's a high vibration. Now, why don't we receive it? Cut to us. We're telling our friends about this horrible argument that we've had about our husband. We're going to work and we're telling the story of what happened again. So we're remaining in the vibration of the problem and keeping ourselves down here. We're thinking about how horrible he is. And, I wish he would just listen to me more, or how sad I feel, or how much of a victim I am, and how much that's what we're doing. So this is keeping us here. So right here is our answer. And this is where we're living unknowingly. Unknowingly. We don't know any better, really. But if we were to, there's many ways that we can rise our vibration, right? We can meditate. Meditation automatically rises it, which is basically no thought. We can shift our perspective and write a list of things that we are grateful for in this relationship, in all of our relationships, or even your best friend, whatever. Just shifting our perspective for a moment. Raise, raise, raise. And the next thing we know, we can have a flood of all of the goodies. If we could see all of the answers that are waiting to come into our lives, if we could only raise our vibration, we would be astounded. That is what I've experienced in my life. That's what I experienced by shifting my perspective and only focusing on what I want and what feels good to me. And that's why I don't watch the news. And I'm not telling anyone else not to do it, but I don't. But I used to have people they literally would want to argue. I've had friends that want to argue me down. It is important to watch the news. You need to know what's going on. No, I don't. I am creating what's going on for me, right? And if I do need to know something, then you'll tell me. If it's important for me to know, someone will bring me that information.
100%. I do the same. Like at some point, somebody will tell me. If it's important, I'll find out.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So that is what I believe. And so my goal in life is to always be, and am I always here? Of course not, because I'm a human being. I'm on this human planet. But what's interesting and exciting about what I just shared is the idea of contrast, the very thing that we don't want being the catalyst to bring about what we do want. That's powerful. So if we can look at it like that very thing that we don't want is the gatekeeper to open up the solution to that problem. But the only way that we can receive it is if we can continue to climb up that vibrational ladder to get to love, to get to appreciation, to get to, all those joy. You can't jump from down here to here. You need to go up, so along that ladder is anger, right? So suppression, apathy is at the very, very bottom. And if you continue to go up, then you have depression. You continue to go up, then you get to anger. Now, the anger is this interesting thing because most people look at anger as bad. But if you don't know where a person is coming from, if they were coming from being suppressed, anger is delicious. Anger is powerful. Anger is necessary. And so you get to anger, but here's the trouble with anger. It feels so good when you first get there that you want to stay there, and not realizing that continuing to move up that ladder until you get to love, appreciation, joy is really the destination. And so that is something that, if that to me is just the most important thing for us to see and know. Yeah.
And you mentioned you yourself, you're not always up there. So it's a never ending improvement, never ending opening, going up the ladder. We were talking backstage before we went on live, and you say every year I empty my bag and I do something for myself to replenish myself. And it just reminds me, it's like, well, is that the time of the year where you're like, okay, time to go up the ladder?
Yes. Well, no. The up the ladder is every single day, every day. like when I'm driving in a car and I get a phone call that doesn't make me feel good, I do an exercise to shift my perspective. I meditate every single morning and most often in the afternoon. So those are the daily hygiene I practice to keep my vibration always headed up, right? That yearly thing is more so when I need to create new beliefs. It's so easy to get stuck in what we believe is true, right? And what we believe is impossible or what is possible. So what I love when I say empty the bag, so whether I'm going to a Tony Robbins seminar or, tapping seminar, motion coat, whatever it is, it's helping me to just say, shake it up, empty it out. And now let's recreate what's possible in your life, Tiffany. Yeah.
Amazing hacks, amazing tips. And we have some questions on the back end. And so one of the questions we have here is, were you ever scared to create this nonprofit with no experience?
Interesting question. Thank you. I was never afraid. I was on fire. I said this earlier, wild horses couldn't keep me back. I just didn't care. And that's, I think, who knows? I don't know if someone is afraid to do something, that it may be an indicator that it might not be the right path. But I know for me, when I look back now, I had to do this. I had to do this. And now knowing where it has led me, it makes perfect sense. I'm trying to think of a time where I might have been afraid. I mean, I'm afraid all the time, but I was not afraid for that. I was not afraid for that. And no, I'm not afraid all the time, but there are some things that still produce a little level of resistance that I don't want to jump into the cold water about.
Yes, growth, stepping outside our comfort zone most often.
Again, another human, this is our human body that we get to have these opportunities to grow through. So I will always welcome that anxiety and that those emotions, because they're indicators of there's something I need to work on.
And one of the questions as well that relates to that is, how do you know that you're being guided into the right direction?
My inner landscape, just by my internal guidance system. I rely on my internal guidance system always. And what I've come to know about that internal guidance system is that it may lead me to a place where in 6 months I'll say, I don't want to be here, but there's something there for me. There is a beautiful opportunity for me to grow right there. And so now I literally just go where I feel good And of course, there's the, you have to weigh in things that you know and, the data that you have, but follow that internal guidance system. What you're attracted to, go toward it. Because even if you get burned, that is something that was necessary for you. I love it. I love it. Yeah, but I believe in that. I hope that answers your question. If not, please let me know and I can try to go deeper.
And I want to thank so many of you tuning in. So I want to say thank you to Lorelei. Jewel says, Amhat says, nice speech, really enjoying. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Chip, Samantha, Kelly. Oh my goodness, a ton of beautiful people, souls joining us on. So if you have any questions. And I always like to ask this question, Tiffany, and and it's really incredible because you've actually lived it twice when we talk about Ebola on a different level, and now with coronavirus and the time of quarantine. And one of the questions I like to ask is, what is the opportunity that you like to see for yourself, or that you've seen arise for yourself during this time? And some people sometimes answer, well, I took up knitting, or started Hack Mankind to change the world, depending on who it is. And so for you, what has been, if you would have to pick one, what would you say?
Okay, I like that you asked me to pick one. Okay, I'm going to say my one is connection with my family. And I'm going to tell you why. I believe that every change that we want to see happen in this world, there's a microcosm of that in our homes. The very relationships in our homes are the exact replica of what's going on the larger landscape. And so the microcosm, as is the microcosm, as is the macrocosm. And so I'm using this time to work on healing and leaning more deeply into the relationships in my own community. And I say home, but I also mean your friend networks, our friend networks. Where are there fissures? Where are there unturned stones or things that you need to look at? What is your relationship with your spouse? When is the last time that you've really asked them how they are doing in the marriage, how they are feeling? That's what I am excited about right now. And by going through that process and healing, that automatically contributes to our planet and to our world.
Amazing. And the second thing I'd like to ask you is, what would you like to see come out in humanity?
Wow. A beautiful redesign, opportunity for a beautiful redesign that we never thought was possible. I would love for us to revalue, look at what our needs really are. Our needs are to belong. Our needs are to feel valued. Our needs are to value others, to be of value to others, to be cared for, to love. And again, when I say that we are in a sea of symptoms, I would really love for our humanity during this time to be able to go one layer beneath and get to the root of the pain of what's really going on that's causing all of this. Because again, it's not just the racism and the abuse and everything that is going on and has been for years and years and years. There's symptoms of a greater, deeper pain. And I think people are incredibly lonely and sad, and we don't invest in understanding who we are inside. We don't invest in understanding who any of us are. And so if we were to put half of the money that we raise for curing cancer and doing all of these things, which are important and essential, into understanding this operating system, wow, we'd be in a really, really, really different place.
So would you say more self-awareness?
Self-awareness, yes. Yes, we can put it exactly like self-understanding, self-knowing. I like self-knowing. That feels good. really knowing ourselves, but like really, really getting in there and letting go of this, you know, the way that we've been living and believing that this is life. This is only life because we've agreed that this is life. We can change that agreement at any time. And I'd like for us to really see how important health, our soil is, starting with our soil. And yeah, there's a lot of beautiful things that are coming out of this for humanity. Now, we just have to see what's being revealed and actually take action. Yeah.
So would you say, from what I'm hearing you're saying, would you say that it starts with each and every single one of us?
It does. This is the time that we have to be our own gurus. We have to be our own leaders. We have to be the change that we are seeking. It is not obvious that it is not coming from our government. And it doesn't matter who we elect. It's not coming from there. And it's so beautiful that this is happening in this way. It's like their slip is showing. Everyone's slip is showing. Like there's no more Oz behind the curtain. Everyone is exposed. And what a great thing. Because now let's all come together, build our communities, and start working together and creating our lives in a whole new way. We get to do this. We get to do this. How incredible that we get to be living at this time, that we can dive in this way. Yeah.
What a beautiful perspective. And tell us, how can we support you? How can we stay in touch? Where would you like to direct our audience?
I would love, well, at Tiffany Persons, my first and last name, you can put that in the chat. Instagram is preferred, and then Shine On Sierra Leone is also on Instagram. And we have COVID kits that if you want to support financially for Shine On Sierra Leone, by all means, you can go to our website, shineonsierraleone.org. And yeah, stay in touch. Stay in touch.
What are you currently working on now that you're super excited?
This. Being here with you right now, being in the present moment, that has been something that I'm a casting director for commercials also. So I have these amazing 2 lives, and I focus on getting real people in commercials. It's kind of the most extraordinary, perfect job because it's literally real people. And my job is to help people be their most authentic selves and tell their most authentic story on camera. And my company it's amazing. And so I don't really have a lot of time. I haven't had a lot of time to just be in my body and have the mental freedom. So this last 3 months has been a true blessing of connection with self. And that is what I'm enjoying now.
Amazing. I think that's very inspiring. And for a lot of us, it is, yes, connection with our family, connection to self, and self-awareness. Those are the 3 main ones that I hear you say for right now and coming out of this. And so Shine On Sierra Leone and your website, we'll put that on the links down on the comments. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. And before I give you the final words, I just want to remind everybody to head on over to www.happymankind.com if you haven't done so yet, to make sure that you can have access to our schedule and these wonderful recordings and content. We have amazing speakers and guest VIPs, as we have Tiffany. Amazing story, and I wish you all the best. And I'm so excited to stay in touch and hear more. And yeah, beautiful life lessons, life-changing lessons. Thank you so much. Any final words?
I am excited for this journey for all of you, and we were truly born for this. And let us take the time to develop ourselves in the way that we need to create a world that works for everyone. That's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And we will see you real soon. That's it for today's schedule. Tomorrow morning, we'll be back 8 a.m. Eastern Time with our founder, Peter. And I'm so grateful to have you on with us. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.